This retreat is entitled Before Everything I Am, the latter being a very clear allusion to the teaching of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. In tribute to Nisargadatta, I would like to begin with a very short reading, which will serve as the jumping off point for our meditation. This reading is from a short text by Robert Powell entitled The Wisdom of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. Reading. Before the mind, I am. I am is not a thought in the mind. The mind happens to me. I do not happen to the mind. And since time and space are in the mind, I am beyond time and space, eternal and omnipresent. Let's listen once more because the teaching is very, very powerful. Before the mind, I am. I am is not a thought in the mind. The mind happens to me. I do not happen to the mind. And since time and space are in the mind, I am beyond time and space, eternal and omnipresent. Together, we wish to investigate the meaning of this particular aphorism, as well as the truth of it. Let's begin. It can seem as if I must be the senses. That is, I must be somehow in or behind seeing and touching and tasting and smelling and hearing. Or it can seem as if I am the body, or that I am somehow in the body, or maybe quite mysteriously around this body. Or it can seem, to be sure, as if I am the mind. We want to know whether any of these seeming identifications is actually true. To speak of the senses or of sense activity is to speak again of seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, and hearing. Let's consider hearing. Just listen to the sound of these words right now. Notice that there's a certain vibration, a certain, so to speak, texture to the sound. Understand that the sounds, the vibrations are coming into being, lasting for a short while, and then falling out of being. What is this experience like? What is it like to simply hear, or for there rather to be simply hearing? Really experience hearing as well as silence right now. the oceanic waves, the vibrational sine curves of sound, and the cleanliness, the clarity of silence. Now consider the question. Is there an I that is intimately involved in the act of hearing? Right now, as there is hearing, is there an I, a sense of I that is somehow implicated in or woven into the act of hearing? Or is there even a sense of I that is behind or outside of the act of hearing, such that it could be orchestrating this experience? Return to the sense of hearing to try to make this clear. Notice that hearing is spontaneously occurring, totally effortlessly happening, without intention, perhaps too without tension, without any finagling, manipulation, orchestration. It's just coming seemingly out of nowhere. And hearing is, to put it a little bit too bluntly, a something, a this, meaning it feels as if it's a discrete event occurring out in front. Notice that right now. Here is the discrete event of hearing vibrating out in front. Yes, before it disappears. Now the question is, do I somehow exist out in front, in and with the act of hearing? See whether that's possible. Bring your attention to the act of hearing that is just here right now, and then test, explore whether it's possible for the sense of I to seemingly traverse the divide between I-ness and hearing. That is to say, can the I be, so to speak, mapped onto the out and frontedness of hearing? Go ahead and try. Try to allow for the I to be totally identical with hearing, with the this, which is arising out in front. it's a curious thing. No matter how hard you try to get the eye to move, it remains still. No matter how hard you try to bring it out in front, it simply won't budge. There is no way to get the eye to immerse itself in hearing. It is like great receptive, back-rounded openness to the hearing that is spontaneously, naturally occurring. While this has only been an exploration of one of the senses, namely hearing, on your own, you might be able to tell that every other sense activity would lead to the same conclusion, namely, I am not in this sense activity, and I am not a something, a separate entiative self, a core something or other that exists behind the act of hearing, or seeing, or touching, or tasting, or smelling. It's far simpler than all this. Sensing is miraculously, symphonically, oceanically occurring of its own accord. And whatever the I is, and we'll come to that soon, it doesn't budge from its backgrounded, receptive openness. Let this sink in now. Next. But then can I, the sense of I, the sense of being myself, be the body? When I investigate what the body is in direct experience, I come to no more than 2 or 3 proposals. Let's say 3, even though one could be reduced to the other. The first proposal is that the body is physical sensation. That is, a sensation is rising and falling. And we might say, as a fudge, that that is the body. This is not entirely accurate because there's a post hoc thought that will then identify the physical sensation as being mine. Or it might even say, I am in pain. But let's stick with a simple proposal. The body is a physical sensation. The next one, the body is a concept, i.e. a thought, a memory, a form, an anticipation rather of doership or movement or whatever. Thus we say, I see myself in the mirror. That is, whatever I see in the mirror via visual perception seems to be conceptualized as the body that is me or the body that is mine. Third proposal, to inquire into the nature of the body can bring us to inquire into the whereabouts of the body. And our felt sense is that the body is in here while the world consisting of other beings and of so-called external reality is all out there. Go to that felt sense now. That is the sense that the body's over here or in here, while everything else that is not the body is out there, either close by or over yonder. Now, as we consider these three proposals, we can see whether we can reduce them to one very simple idea. Allow a physical sensation to arise anywhere and see what that is like. Allow any body thought to arise and note what this is like. And allow the thought, and it is indeed a thought, that the body is in here while everything else is out there. Or even perhaps that, loosely speaking, I am in here and not I, it seems, is out there. Note well, all three proposals share in common an underlying factor, namely that all of them point to, that is, are nothing other than a this, a something, a physical sensation, allow one to arise right now, is a something, a this. A body-related thought, allow memory of the body to come to mind, is also a this, a something. And the thought about the body being here or in here is also a something, a this. Our chief question, remember, is, am I the body? Can I be the body? Could I be this body? Take any of those three, a physical sensation, a body thought, or the sense of being in here, and deeply go into the question, is it possible for the sense of I to actually be a this, a something? Go ahead and try. Try to regard, or even indeed to make, the sense of I into a this. Can it be, for instance, a physical sensation? Can I be a sensation? Or can I be a body thought, e.g. a memory? Can the I sense actually be a memory? Or consider the spatialization. Can I be that which is in here? Can I be? What's almost shocking is that each proposal fails. I can't even make myself crawl into a this, a something, no matter how hard I try to make myself identical with some something or other, I find that I can't do it. I discover that I'm the relaxed, illuminating, without which this something would not temporarily be existing. Or in any case, I simply find that I can't crawl hand over fist, so to speak, so far as to arrive at the something. Each time I make such an effort, somewhat paradoxically, I don't even move a single inch. Therefore, how could I possibly be the body when the body is always appearing to me in order for it to appear at all? Isn't that a strange thing? All this time I've sometimes regarded myself as this body, and therefore I have become deeply preoccupied with it, with me. But as I investigate this matter very closely, I find that what I had believed is actually stunningly impossible to effect. I couldn't even be the body if I tried. Sure, the body happens to put it that way, but whatever I am is aware of or illuminating or apprehending this body happening. And I can't not be just this, that is, whatever this awareness that's aware of the happening actually is. I'm the knower of the poetry of the body, and perchance of the tragedy of the body. But I play no actual part in either. We move on to our third candidate, namely that I am the mind. Quoting Maharaj again, before the mind, I am. Is he right? Is that true? If I am the mind, then every property the mind seems to have must also belong to me and vice versa. Is that so? Well, I have to begin by asking, what is the mind in direct experience? And if I'm being very clear and attentive and, shall we say, honest, then I can only really say that the mind is thought and perhaps the mind is feeling. In fact, one is reducible to the other. See that clearly now. Allow any thought to arise. Is there a mind that contains the thought? Is mind like a space in which the thought occurs? Consider the possibility that it's container. Well, if the mind is a container, then we should be able to find its borders and boundaries. Can you find the inside and the outside of this mind container right now? It may be surprising to discover that you actually don't find anything. You find no thing at all. But then perhaps the mind is a space in which thought is occurring. Well, where is this space? You might say it's in here. Isn't that another thought? Aren't we trying to find a space in which thought is occurring? So we had better look for space in the absence of any thought whatsoever. Well, somehow this space needs to be delineated. So can we delineate this space from non-space or from other spaces such that the mind is somehow properly understood? Once again, we can't find anything that answers to that apparent definition. Therefore, when we go looking for some mind entity outside of a thought, we end up grasping at straws. We come up empty-handed. Hence, what we're left with is, perhaps from a Western point of view, very shocking indeed. It is that the mind is no different from a thought. See that for yourself. Allow any thought to arise. And don't, as it were, double up. Simply note that mind arising is thought arising. That thought arising is mind arising. If another thought arises, like that was the mind, then note that thought, realizing immediately so that that thought is identical with mind. If this line of inquiry is leading in the right direction, then it follows that there actually is no mind entity at all. There's only minding or mind arising or mind arising as thinking, and therefore mind falling as thinking subsiding. Hence, mind arising is, in fact, intermittent, and thus is just as impermanent as any other phenomenon, like seeing and hearing and touching and tasting and smelling and desiring and so on. And what can we say about mind arising, i.e., thought arising? We can say the same thing we have said about the senses and about the body, namely that it's a this, loosely understood, a something very loosely understood. See that now, allow a thought to arise, and notice that it's a something, technically a process, but a something occurring out in front. Now the question is, can I, i.e., my sense of myself, actually cozy up to mind, i.e., thought, such that I could be no different from it? Test this now. Allow any thought to arise and see whether the sense of I can totally overlap with the thought. Can we get this sense of I to tear itself out of the background so as to fully embrace, i.e., to be no different than this experience? And again, no matter how hard I try, I can't get myself to be this thought. It's almost repellent. It's almost as if there's a boomerang effect. For when I try once more, allow a thought to arise. When I seek by stealth to merge with the thought, to be the thought, to be mind, then I find that I can't do it. Or I find that the thought totally disappears. The inquiry so far has revealed very simple but potent conclusions, namely that I am not the senses, nor am I the body, nor am I the mind. It's as if we can now begin the real inquiry before the mind. I am. In fact, before the mind, the body, and the senses, I am. Go now to the sense you have of yourself, the sense of I or me. Perhaps you have gone to a place behind the third eye, or perhaps you have gone to a location in the chest. Either way, notice that that experience behind the third eye or in the chest is in fact a sensation. Am I that sensation in the head, quote unquote, or in the heart space? No, we have already discovered just this. When I ask myself that question, am I the sensation? I find, metaphorically speaking, that I'm the expansive, open background to which the sensation is appearing. Therefore, we must ask that question again. What is the sense I have of myself Is it like a pinprick in the chest or behind the third eye? It's not quite that. So go again to this sense of I with a more relaxed inquisitiveness. What is this sense of I that is of I am? And there are three things that can be said about this unity. These are not three separate attributes or three different things. There are three different descriptors of one and the same essence or unity. The first is that I am conscious. So ask yourself the question right now, am I conscious or simply aware? The question is not whether you're aware of something or other. That part of the inquiry is now over. The question is, are you simply, naively, innocently, self-evidently, ungainsayably aware? Yes, it's too much to say that I'm aware of myself. That would make it seem as if there's some kind of object. It's simply that I'm conscious, or simply that I'm aware, or it's simply the case that the lights are on, or it's simply the case that I'm self-cognizant or self-knowing. Or it could be said somewhat indirectly that I don't know anything. Don't know anything. That's an indirect way of saying simply being conscious. Or simply self-luminous. Next, I can ask myself the question, do I exist? Or am I? And if you go to the taste, to the essence of that question, not to a thought, but to the essence of the question, and you discover beyond words, beyond mind, beingness or presence. The simple, innocent, pervasive sense of presence. Finally, when you ask the question, is there vibration or movement, energy or power right here, right now? And if you go to that understanding, that intuitive, non-mental understanding, then you find, yes, there is life force or Shakti. Powerful, pervasive energy. And now you understand what I amness signifies. Simply being conscious. That is, simply being present. That is, simply life force. Or pervasive energy. See that these are not three different things. Just intimately feel into simply being conscious, simply being present, and simply being pervasive energy. And for a moment, abide as I am. Before everything, before the world, which is impossible without the senses and mind, before the senses, before the body, before the mind, prior to all and beyond all, I stand as I am. I am like an uncarved block of wood, as simple as a child. As homogeneous as space. I am as quiet as the darkest midnight. So immediate am I to myself that I am also almost unfathomable. And now it can be noticed that there are three pulling down tendencies. Consider the conscious part, which isn't a part. This can seem as if it is pulled down into fixation on some object and thereby fascination with some object, i.e., experience or other. This is Maya. And here, the fall, so to speak, shows up as I am the knower. I am the one who knows. Feel the pull of I am the knower. And then gently watch as you come to understand, oh, truly, I don't know. Or truly, it can be said, I don't know anything, or I know no thing. Meaning I am only myself. So we are back, as it were, to consciousness. Note also that the am beingness, presence, can inadvertently fall down into finitude. That is, into the belief and feeling that I am a finite being, one who was born, one who is aging, who is subject to illness, and who shall die. Mistaking myself to be a finite being, I am afraid of death. Hence the teacher may ask, but apart from hearsay, from second-hand information, do I actually know whether I was born? What if I weren't born at all? What if what I am was not identical with the body-mind, which can be said to have been born? This sort of question reveals to me once again the beingness or presence evident in and as I amness. And now watch closely as the life force can, as it were, fall down into doership. No longer is it simply life force, so understood, but rather I come to seem as if I am the doer on whose behalf actions are undertaken. I keep asking causal questions on the grounds that I initiated this, or I withheld from doing that. Feel the stickiness of the I am the doer identity, the coagulation of the spontaneous, effortless life force in the form of the doer. And then ask the question, what if I weren't actually the doer? What if everything, miraculously so, were just happening? And taste what it's like to return, as it were, to simply being life force. This then is I amness. And I amness is not the end of the path. It is the penultimate step. It is like being on the doorstep of God. Insofar as I amness is on the side of manifestation, it is not quite the unmanifest. After all, there's some frail but clear sense of the I amness and some kind of object. That is, there's some sense that I'm aware of I am. Therefore, the inquiry should continue, albeit very gingerly, gently. Openly surrender to the possibility that you are like an original face that is before even I amness. Can you be open right now to the possibility that you are even before the mouth of the spring? What is before the mouth of the spring? What is it that is outside of space and quote before time? What is it that is uncaused, unconditioned? What is it that has no name, no shape? No substance? Not even that of I amness. What is this I when it is completely alone, totally whole, utterly universal, absolutely at home? In other words, what is the I when, unlike I amness, which is not entirely stable, utterly and completely secure into and unto and of itself? What is this original wholeness, this one without a second? And I give myself up now, right here at I amness, to the sweetness of the question. And I let the question carry me away. In other words, can I be in love with love or wholeness itself? But not as something other, only as my true self. In short, I hold myself tenderly open on the borderline between I am and that which I truly know not. That unspeakable reality that is, I know intellectually, none other than me, none other than my very essence. Beyond space, beyond time, eternal, omniscient. Can I hear the sweetness, the sweet mystery behind those words, those pointers? And I feel the whisper of the only and full reality. Or aren't I ultimately the one thing needful? And that is no thing at all. Do I care about anything else? Anything but my true nature? Can I hold myself gently, tenderly, longingly, right here? Can I wait without waiting? Open without anticipation? This is what is asked. Namely, that everything else be set aside, for before the mind, before everything, I am. What is it that? Not even that. Before I am, who am I? This mystery echoes everywhere. It is the drumbeat of my existence. It's so close. I can feel it on my cheek. And yet still not quite resolved, so that I yearn without moving, long without expectation, ask without saying a word. And therefore, simply hold here in as at the edge of, sweetly, innocently, in the midst of I Amness.